Today we're talking about the art and science of manifestation, right? And a lot of times in New Thought, so Unity is a New Thought church, for those of you who don't know. New Thought meaning that we are part of a family of the power of mind, movement, manifestation churches. Sometimes called the law of attraction, but it all started in the 1800s with the transcendentalist movement and with Christian Science and then religious science and a lot of healing movements that taught the power of our minds to heal our bodies before it was even proven by the placebo effect. Now we know scientifically that our minds are just as much a powerful tool for healing as any medicine ever produced. Right? And so that we are in the lineage of those entrepreneurs and those thought leaders and those visionaries who saw what was possible in our minds. And in the subsequent years, a lot has developed with it, and the teachings of affirmations, of positive thinking have made great strides. And now I study neurosciences like Dr. Jim Doty and other people who teach about the power of our mind to actually create our lives. And we follow positive psychologists who teach us about the positivity aspect and optimism being a catalyst for creating the lives we want. And social scientists who look at our work habits and our thinking and our words and how they really do affect everything in our lives, down to the minuscule little moments of awareness that have percolated and permeated everything in our lives. Sitting with my doctor one day, years ago, back in New York, and going over lab results. And he was going over all the endless numbers and what they could mean, or what they might mean, or what might happen. And I said to him, please, I don't really want to get into the numbers. That's your job. I just want to stay in my affirmations of what is going to happen. And I said, I know you don't believe the same thing I did. And he said, whoa, wait, Ken. He goes, I am really clear. Now, he was working the front lines in New York City, of the AIDS epidemic in the 80s and the 90s. And he looked at me and he said, I know, and I have witnessed that my patients who believe they're going to get better do. Right? And his real lived experience was that which we teach. That when we hold something in consciousness, when we hold it in our mind, it manifests in the world. And that's what I want to talk to us about today, about how we actually manifest in the world. So take a look at your life, scan quickly in your mind, notice everything that's going on in your life. Because everything that's going on in your life, you have created. You have manifested already. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? When we can take radical responsibility for our own creations, it doesn't make us wrong and it doesn't make us bad. What it does is open up the possibility that, oh, I could have had a V8. I can change my mind. We can manifest by what we choose. And that understanding and awareness gets us to the mind-blown part, right? So what is it that I want today? What is it that you really want to create? What is it that is pulling you or pushing you forward to something magnificent? Now, a lot of people in our culture today when we think about manifestation, it's like some magic trick. They think that we're talking about some pseudoscience about how we can use the power of our mind to manipulate things on the outside. But it's not about manipulating things on the outside at all. For those of you who have been married, I ask you this question, or are currently married. Can you manifest anything in your spouse? No matter all your pleading, all your trying, all your affirmations, can you create in someone else's consciousness? No. All hands up for all the people who've been in relationships that know this, right? What we get to do is create in our own consciousness. And that's the fertile field we need to work in. But to try and change things on the outside, or to let our own selves be adversely affected by what is someone else is doing, or something that we're worried that someone else is going to do, leads us into this insanity of trying to use manifestation as a manipulation tool, manipulating others, manipulating the circumstances. And I'll give you a cultural way that we're all doing this right now, is in our politics, right? We think that the one we don't like, I'll let you fill in the name. The one we don't like, the candidate we think is evil or bad, is going to destroy the country, is going to wreak havoc in our lives. And we give them all the power. We work hard against them. And that what you resist persists. So the more energy you give to what you don't want, what you're actually doing is creating more of what you think you don't want. So we take this moment to stand back and say, oh, again, I have the choice. I have the power. Why do I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result? How many times do we have to go through the same election? Seriously. How many times do we have to go through the same election or the same story about what's wrong in the world? And if only someone else would fix it, it would all be okay. We keep trying to use the power of our mind to create in someone else's reality, right? And that's the insanity. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But here's the good news. We actually have the power to change our own mind, because our mind is malleable and constantly growing and shifting depending on what we put our attention to. When I was a kid, ages ago, when I was little, it was commonly believed that you were born with, and as you grew, when you reached adulthood, you had all the gray matter you were ever going to have. And what happened after that is gray matter cells, your brain cells, would just die until you did, right? That there was no creating new brain cells. And luckily, we know today that that's not true. That our brain is so adaptable, malleable, and plastic, neuroplasticity, that we can create new neural pathways at any age. We can create and grow sections of our brain that we use more, and we can do so without even actually having to do physical activity. That the brain can't distinguish between imagining something and actually doing it. And so if you imagine playing the piano daily, you develop just as much skill as to playing the piano as if you actually sit and practice it. Do you do that, Arthur? You never practice in your head, right? Right. He sees playing the piano, right? And then he plays so beautifully for us here. And the same thing, doesn't he? Yes. Yeah. The same thing is true for us when we use our power of anxiety to imagine the worst possible outcome. All right, let's all imagine what could go wrong, right? And then we give it so much attention and energy. We were watching with our 6-year-old, there's a new movie out called In and Out 2, where it's all about their inside emotions of this girl as she's growing up. And when she hits 12 and 13, anxiety, ennui, all show up, fear, all show up to take over. And what some of us never do, is get back in balance. Anxiety has a purpose, but it doesn't need to run our lives. Concern and worry and care can be mixed with joy, can be mixed with love and compassion. And we can consciously creatively construct our lives by creating our brain, by recreating our brain. Because one of the great things about neuroplasticity also is that it carves away the stuff that no longer works. When we let go of the patterns, the trenches of negativity, of worry, of blame, of resentment, of anger, and unforgiveness, we can literally trim them from our mind. And that thing you thought was so unforgivable dissipates into a nothingness that doesn't affect your life on a daily basis. I scan this room and I'm thinking about all the people at home right now that I know and love, and how many of us have been doing that work about really learning to release the resentment, the hurt, and the anger, and not let it be the driving force. That's neuroplasticity. And that's how we manifest. Not by changing anything on the outside, but by changing everything on the inside. Our mind filled with all these attributes of observation, attention, careful about what we're doing and how we're doing it, perception about our positivity, about our optimism for life itself, for all the things that are in store for us, can literally create the abundance that I know we all want. We're all here because we want something more from this life. You know, the cliche of a spiritual journey is that in the 20s, you think you have it all. In the 30s, when you're relegated to understanding what work life really is, sometimes you start searching for the meaning of something more. And by your 40s, you're back in the church that you said your parents, that was my parents' idea, right? And all of a sudden you are here seeking something more than the material world out there. Because a lot of the stuff about manifestation has been caught up in the material things for more. A better house, a better car, a better job, a better lover, better clothes, all those things. When I get those things, I'll be happy. And then there's movements and teachers and churches that will tell you that what you really want to do is manifest. And you want to give so that you can receive. And when you get all those things, then you'll be happy. But what we know is really the truth is that doesn't work. The things on the outside, the things you accumulate, will never, ever make you happy. Maybe for a second, maybe for a moment, maybe as you put on the new outfit. But the new outfit is, once you wear it, is no longer a new outfit. What is new is you, every moment of every day. And when you can be happy in the midst of sorrow, when you can be happy and content and serene in the midst of the chaos, then you bring the happiness to the situation. You bring the joy to the situation, and that's what creates abundance. I like the light bulb over my head. Right? That's what creates the infinite possibility of something more. So how do you do it? In all my observations and in all the books I've been reading and all the understanding of abundance, I have developed, and I keep editing and keep expanding, steps of manifestation. How do you manifest a truly joyful, abundant life? Well, the first is to name and declaim, to use your power of your voice to take back your control and say that on the outside has no power to affect my good. I stand in my dominion and I claim an abundant, joyful, vibrant, healthy life right here and now. I claim a vibrant, healthy life right here and now. Can we know that together? I claim a vibrant, healthy life right here, right now. So it is, right? Can you believe that? Can you believe that regardless of your age, regardless of the diagnosis, regardless of the pills you have to take, regardless, I claim a vibrant, healthy life right here and now. Do you? I claim a vibrant, healthy life right here and now. What your mind is doing right now as you repeat that over and over, and as you believe it and feel it. What does it feel like when you claim vibrant health? Where do you feel it in your body? Right. Where? In your gut, in your heart, in your head. When you feel into the emotion, the naming and the claiming has 10 times the power. And it becomes something beyond rote. But what you're really doing is rewiring your brain to look for all the instance of vibrant health that you already have in your life. You are all sitting here at home and in this room. You all have a level of vibrant health that got you here. Can we celebrate that today? Can we celebrate the miracle that our bodies are? It is a miracle that we're all here, that our hearts are beating, that our brains are thinking, that we are interacting with each other in new and amazing ways, continuing to make new neural pathways. That is worthy of celebration. The next step is to shift our consciousness. And this is where the shadow work, as Jung would talk about it, is looking at what we don't admit is really going on with us. The things we don't like about ourselves, the things we don't like about others, and to really dig deep and shift our consciousness from thinking that the world is against us to creating a mindset that knows that everything is happening for us. Everything is happening for our highest and best. So when the S hits the fan, when things don't go as you planned, that you can step up in consciousness and say, let me see. Let me see how this is for me. Let me play with it till I find the good. Let me dig through the crap until I can find the richness, the way out, the path to prosperity and wholeness. In our culture, it's been so taken over by negativity that the book and the series Pollyanna now is referred to as a pejorative. Oh, please don't be so Pollyanna. Well, Pollyanna, if you actually read the book, was not naive or stupid. She knew exactly what she was going through. And she chose in those moments to play a game that her father taught her. Her father, the preacher, taught her. And it was called the glad game. When things went wrong, when things went bad, she was taught a game to look for the good. To look for the good and play, where can I be glad for this? How can I be glad for this? It was so popular at the beginning of the 20th century that Milton Bradley turned it into a board game that millions of people across the country used to play, the glad game. But cynicism has taken over our culture, and the glad game is no longer played, and we're called Pollyanna when we express positivity. When we can shift our consciousness from that of negativity and doubt and resentment to love and compassion and optimism, we've won the game. And then we need to take the concrete steps in our lives. Oh, I went too far. The concrete steps in our life. I'll let you guys run for a second. Concrete steps in our life so that we know that we are doing everything we need to do. Meditation is wonderful, and we're going to do a meditation because meditation is how we really just do imagine and create neural pathways. But we also must take physical steps in the physical world because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And in the human experience, action steps are necessary. You must buy the lotto ticket if you want to win the lotto, is the old joke, right? You must take the classes if you want to become a minister. There's some people in this room are doing right now. You must do the studies to shift the consciousness. You must make yourself available for your good. And then you have to share your journey. This is the part I like the best. This is one of the most fun steps because often we try and live our lives in these little silos where we are alone toiling at our goals. And when we can share it with others, when we can find a community and a group My husband speaks of it as his dream team. His dream team he surrounds himself with, that when you share your journey with them, they conspire with you to make it happen, that they remind you of who you truly are and what your gifts are. And when you share your journey with strangers and with like-minded people, you never know who's going to conspire to make it possible. The screen behind me is that. I shared with you 2 months ago my dream of having this screen. Several of you raised your hands and gave money for it. I sent out a letter to someone who gave even more money to make it happen. And within a month, we had gone from a broken screen to new magnificence, because I was willing to put it out there and share it. What are you holding on to that you're scared to tell people when the person sitting next to you right now may hold the key to making it happen for you? Share your journey bravely, courageously, and joyfully. If people don't agree, next. Next. There's 8 billion people on the planet, folks, right? Surely one of them can unlock the key to our good, because we're not doing this in a silo. And then the last step is to be open to how your good may show up. I gave a toast last night at the dinner party I had for my husband. 21 years ago, we met. 21 years ago, after both of our lives seemed to be at a dead end, and we met in the rooms of recovery 21 years ago. And we could have never imagined the life we have today with 3 children who were all at the party last night. 3 children surrounded by all our friends and family in our beautiful home and surrounded by all this love. 21 years ago, that didn't seem like where we were. But we were open to it showing up in ways that we could not expect. And as we went on our journey, it wasn't linear, and these steps aren't linear. They don't happen in that order. They happen all at the same time in this crazy-ass chaos, right? But they happen. And every step along the way takes you to a new level. When you can look back 21 years, when you can look back at where you were a decade ago and say, oh my God, look at what I've manifested. You're on the road to leading and describing and sharing abundance beyond your wildest dreams. Let go of the lack. Let go of the not enough and the not good enough and the can't and the won't, and step fully in to the beauty of manifestation. All of this happens in divine order. And I want to be really clear. In Unity, we don't mean divine order means that there's some God up there pulling some string and we're some puppet who's doing something. Not happening. There's no being up in the sky. There only is beingness within us. That the Spirit of God is within you as you, and you are the one who shares it. But what divine order is that we're not in charge of how and when it's going to manifest. Have you ever tried to eat an avocado before it's ripe? Whew, not pleasant, right? Not a good idea. But when it is ripe, it is sweet and fulfilling and nutritious and delicious. And that's divine order. Being steadfast and patient, we experience the grace and the goodness of the divine.